Hello 7th standard. Today we are going to learn about division of decimal numbers, and just like multiplication of decimal numbers, division of decimal numbers can also be done in different ways. Before we look at the methods for division of decimal numbers, let us look at the types of divisions that you may have in your exercise. So these are the four types of divisions that you may have. Division of decimal number by a whole number, division of whole number by a decimal number, division of decimal number by a decimal number, division of decimal number by 10, 100, 1000, etc. Now, first type and the last two are just like in multiplication. There is one new type here, whole number by a decimal number. And why we have a new type? Because multiplication is commutative. So if it is decimal number and a whole number to be multiplied, or whole number and decimal number to be multiplied, we can always change the order in multiplication, but in division it cannot be done. So in division, if we change the order, the answer changes because division is not commutative. So division by whole number will be done in a different way. Division of whole number by a decimal number will be done in a different way. Now let us look at a few examples for each type so that we can learn how to carry out the division. I have taken two examples for type 1. A decimal number divided by a whole number. So the first number is with point, the second one is without point. So you can just observe that the dividend is your first number. It is decimal number, and your divisor, the divisor is the second number. It is a whole number. So there are two methods. First is direct division, and the second method is using fractions. Let us do each part by both methods. First one, we have 6.4 divided by 2. We are using direct division, first method. Then 6.4, the dividend will be inside and 2 will be outside. Now carry out your division. This will be 2 3s are 6. 6 minus 6 is 0. Now the moment you use the digit from the decimal part, as soon as you cross this point and you take the next digit down, at this moment what you want to do is you want to use this point in the quotient. These two things will be done simultaneously. So we have used the whole part. Now we have to use the digits from the decimal part, means after the point. So when you want to do that, the first digit comes down, the point will go in the quotient. Now you can divide 4 by 2. 2 2s are 4. This gets cancelled. So the answer is 3.2, the quotient that you obtained. Let's do it with second method, that will be using fractions. So I will change both numbers into fractions and then divide them the way I divided fractions. So 6.4 divided by 2, writing them as fractions, this will be 64 by 10 divided by 2 over 1. Now I hope you remember how we used to divide by fractions. For this, for the second fraction, I want to write down the reciprocal. The reciprocal will be 1 by 2, and I'm going to use the reciprocal here. The first fraction as such, no change. The sign of division changes to multiplication, and at the same time the second fraction is reciprocated. Now you can simplify. This gets cancelled. 2 1s are 2. 2 into 32 is 64. So 32 by 10, this is 3.2, using the 10 to put the point back. Let's do the second example. The second example that we have is 82.44 divided by 6. Let us do it with the first method, means if we divide directly. Starting with the first digit, 8. So this will be 6 ones are 6. Subtracting, we are left with 2. Using this 2, I have 22 now. This will go at 3. 6 threes are 18. Subtracting, I am left with 4. 22 minus 18 is 4. Now, I have reached point. I'm crossing the point now. So when you cross the point, this digit goes down. The point goes up in the quotient. So this becomes 44. This will be 6 sevens are 42. Subtracting, left with 2. Let's use the next digit, 24. This will be 6 fours are 24. The remainder is 0. So the answer is 13.74. Let's do it with fractions. So 82.44 divided by 6 can be written as 8244 over 100 divided by 6 over 1. Now I need to do two things together. Change the sign of division to multiplication, and this fraction we will write its reciprocal. Now you can cancel the two numbers. These two you can simplify. You can use smaller numbers to divide if you want, or you can directly divide by 6. But you should know that it is completely divisible, otherwise you cannot. So on division you will get 1374 here. So the answer from the multiplication comes out to be 1374 over 100. Now you can use this 100 to put the point back, 13.74. The answer is same. Now there is a note that you need to remember. For first type we have used direct division, but there is a limitation. Direct division will only work in two cases. So you need to remember before you use direct division. Direct division will only work when, number one, the dividend is a decimal number and the divisor is a whole number. So this is the first condition that you want when you are going to directly divide. Second thing, the remainder must come out to be 0. When you carry out the division of a decimal number by a whole number, the remainder must be 0. If the remainder is not 0, your division is incomplete. That means you did not get the correct answer. So these are the things that you need to remember when you are using direct division, otherwise your answer will be incorrect. Now these are the examples for second type, where the first number is a whole number and the second number is a decimal number. The first number whole number, the second number decimal number. In this case there is only one method, and that is using fractions. So let us see how we are going to do this. The first part, 24 divided by 0.3, changing them to fractions. 24 by 1 divided by 3 over 10. So what I have done is I have changed both values into fractions. This is first thing I have done. Now I will carry out the division. 24 by 1, changing the sign of division to multiplication, and the next step is to write its multiplicative inverse. multiplicative inverse of the second fraction is 10 by 3. So I'm going to use 10 by 3 here. You don't have to write this. This is only for you to remember. You can directly solve this sum. Now these two get cancelled. This is the simplification part. So what I'm left with is in the numerators 8 and 10 to be multiplied, in the denominator 1 and 1. So this comes out to be 80. Let us do second part. 378 divided by 1.4. Again changing them to fractions. 378 by 1 divided by 14 over 10. I have fractions now. To divide fractions, what I do, I change sign of division to multiplication and I use the multiplicative inverse of second fraction. Now it's time to simplify. These two get cancelled because they are even numbers. Let's divide them by 2. Now this number is divisible by 7. So I'm cancelling with 7 now. 7 ones are 7, 7 twos are 14, 7 sevens are 49. You can do this in the division. You can do this division in the working column to see whether you can cancel or not. So I'm left with 27 into 10 over 1 into 1 in the denominator. So this is 270. The 1 in the denominator can be ignored. These are the examples for type 3 where I have decimal number divided by a decimal number. So in this case again there is only one method, that is using fractions. So by now you must be aware what I'm going to do. For the first part, 25.5 divided by 0.5. Let's change both into fractions. Now both numbers have been changed to fractions. Now I can divide. 255 by 10, no change. Sign of division changes to multiplication. Second fraction, we write its reciprocal. Now the simplification part. This 0 and 0 get cancelled. You can also cancel 10 with 10. Now these two are multiples of 5. So let's cancel these. 5 ones are 5. 5, 51 gives you 255. Now use the remaining values to obtain the answer. 51 multiplied by 1 from the numerators. From the denominators we have 1 into 1. So the answer will be 51. Second part, 42.8 divided by 0.02. Changing these two fractions. 428 over 10 divided by 2 over 100. Decimal numbers changed to fractions. Now let us convert division to multiplication and use the reciprocal of second fraction. Now the simplification part. This single 0 and single 0 get cancelled. You can also cancel 10 ones are 10 and 10 tens are 100. These two are divisible by 2. 2 ones are 2. I have done orally. You can do in the working column and write the quotient here. So let us see what's left. 214 into 10. 1 and 1 in the denominator. So the answer will be 2140. Now these are the examples for type 4 for division of a decimal number by numbers like 10, 100 or 1000, the number with 1 and zeros. So for these type of sums there are two methods. The first method is the shortcut method, where if you remember, where we use this DL from Mr. Deepak Lal. So DL, divide left. What we are going to do is we are going to move the decimal to the left. If you want, you can write down for yourself that in division move decimal point to left. And how many places, how much left you have to go, it will depend on by which number we are dividing. If we are dividing by 10, then we move one place because 10 has 1 0. If we are dividing by 100, then we move two places because 100 has two zeros. If we are dividing by 1000, we move three places because 1000 has three zeros. And we have to move to the left side. In multiplication, we go to the right side. In division, we go to the left side. The second method that we have is the one we used in the previous two types, fractions. This is the second method. Now let us see how we are going to do these parts using these two methods, one by one. The first part that we have is 31.5 divided by 10. So if I'm using first method, what I'm supposed to do is I'm supposed to move the point to left. So this is the method that I'm using, divide left. For this, check by which number you are dividing. You are dividing by 10. This has 1 0. So my point will move one place to the left. So point moves here, one place to the left. So the answer will be 3.15. This is the shortcut. If I had to use second method, that is using fractions, then I would have to do a few steps. Shortcut gives you the answer directly in one step. The second method, you will have to do some work. So let's write down 31.5 divided by 10 using fractions, changing these two fractions. 315 by 10 divided by 10 over 1. Don't cancel here. You cannot cancel in division. Change to multiplication. Then we can cancel, if possible. First fraction, no change. Division changes to multiplication. 10 by 1 becomes 1 by 10. Now, as I told you, we never cancel 10. So 10 will not be cancelled here. Don't cancel 10. The reason is when you multiply these tens, this will be 315 in the numerator. In the denominator, you get 110 multiplied by 10. Now, how this helps us? Now, I can directly use this 100 to put point in the numerator. If I had cancelled, then I would get a fraction. And then, if I get a fraction, I would have to divide to obtain a decimal number. I don't want to do that. Only cancel 10 if you are sure that it is completely going to be cancelled. 10 will completely cancel and you will be left with 1 in its place. If you cancel 10 by some number and you replace 10 by 2 or by 5, then it is not useful. It will be only useful if you don't change it or it is completely cancelled. Let us do second part with both methods. We have 29.36 divided by 100. Now if I use the first method, I will get the answer in just one step. Division by 100. The point moves left by two places, so point moves here, 1 2. So earlier the point was between 9 and 3. Now the point will be here in the beginning. And this empty place can be written as 0. So the answer will be 0.2936. Now let us do this with the second method where I change the values to fractions. 29.36 divided by 100. This will be 2936 over 100 divided by 100 over 1. Don't cancel, no cancelling in division. So 2936 over 100, no change. Sign of division becomes multiplication. I write the reciprocal of second fraction. Now again you might get tempted to cancel this because both can be divided by 2, but don't cancel. I want to use these hundreds as such without cancelling them. From the numerator, 2936 over 100 into 100 will be 10,000. Now use these zeros to put your point back. 4 zeros, count 4 digits from the right side and then put the point back. 1 2 3 4, point will be here. Empty place filled with 0. So the answer is same in both cases. So this is how we carry out different types of divisions of decimal numbers. Revising all, when you are dividing a decimal number by a whole number, first type, then we can use a direct division or we can use fractions. But to use direct division, there are some conditions that you need to check or keep in mind. Direct division can only be used when the first number, the dividend, is a decimal number. The second number, which is your divisor, is a whole number. Direct division will not work in any other case. Second condition to use direct division is the remainder should be 0. If you do not obtain the answer 0 in the remainder, then direct division doesn't work. Then we have type 2, where we have whole number divided by a decimal number. There is only one method, we use fractions. Then we have division of decimal number by decimal number. For this also there is only one method, fractions. Change to fractions and then divide. Then finally we have division by 10, 100, 1000, etc. For this there are two methods. The first one is your shortcut, where you move your decimal to the left side depending on by which number you are carrying out the division. 10, 100, 1000, etc. Depending on the 0, you move the point to the left side. The decimal jumps as many places as the number of zeros. The second is using fractions. At any point in multiplication or division of decimal numbers, if you forget the shortcut or the methods which we can use directly, you can always work with fractions. And that's all with the division. After this we can start the next exercise. If you want, you can try that on your own.